Coming soon.
You are now in the deep end of horror.
Marc of Horror here with Hugsy, and today we're turning the Wayback Machine to the year 1982. I don't want to give away how old I am, but let's just say this reminds me of Class of. Coming in at number 10 on the list of biggest horror movies for the year is The Beast Within. This is actually kind of a throwback to the 70s because it features one of the most popular 70s horror devices, rape. Which of course is something I don't really care for in my horror. A newlywed couple are out in the woods, and car breaks down and the guy has to go for help, and the woman gets raped and gives birth to, well, we jump forward 17 years and then we get to find out. And then pretty much the same thing happens again. There's not really much to this movie other than that. But the transformation effects are quite good, and for what it is, it's a good film. Just not my cup of tea. The Beast Within. Ninth place goes to an odd beast. National Lampoon's Class Reunion. Ignore these other two, which are actually unrelated films from the 2000s. National Lampoon's Class Reunion is an attempt to make fun of various horror movies, specifically the slasher genre, and it is the first solo script by John Hughes, who would later, of course, make Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink and all those others. So he's not exactly wanting to talk about National Lampoon's Class Reunion. Look for Chuck Berry in a small role, National Lampoon's Class Reunion. Well, the 80s were the years of the action star, and the action stars often had to figure out new genres to work into. And number 8 goes to Chuck Norris in Silent Rage. Pardon the 9-pack, but here he is with Silent Rage. Chuck Norris is not the unstoppable killing machine. It's Chuck Norris versus the unstoppable killing machine. Who will win? Place your bets. Silent Rage. Well, number 7 goes to yet still another one of those original ideas that Hollywood has. Here we have Amityville 2, The Possession. Since Amityville was about a family that inherits a house that is haunted because of a family murder, I bet you can guess what Amityville 2 The Possession is about. And you'd be correct. It's about that family's murder. But, of course, since this is quite far from a true story, they went ahead and changed the names. Not that it would have been a true story regardless, but they went ahead and changed the names. And Amityville 2 The Possession. This series would spawn, I think, another 7 movies, maybe 8. Amityville 2, The Possession. Up next, Visiting Hours. Not Bad Dreams, Visiting Hours. Starring Lee Grant and William Shatner and Michael Ironside. While those are the listed stars, William Shatner's not actually in all that much of it. He's a secondary character, so don't get it for that reason, but it's nice to see a mature woman being the final girl rather than some teenager, or some 30-something lady playing a teenager. Lee Grant is our final girl, and the action takes place in the hospital, and the promo for it is a really good, the teaser trailer is a really good teaser trailer. Visiting Hours. In fifth place, we get another franchise. Halloween 3, the Halloween movie without Michael Myers. This is one of 2 vehicles this year, though, that stars horror favorite Tom Atkins. And in true Hollywood fashion, he beds a woman 25 years younger than he is. Tom Atkins in Halloween 3. It's a pretty good story if you can ignore the fact that Michael Myers isn't in it. It's really rather goofy, and it's not afraid to kill children. Halloween 3.
You don't really know much about Halloween. Halloween, the barriers will be down between the real and the unreal. And the dead might be looking in. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red.
Halloween, the children.
You happen to know anything about this Cochran?
All I can tell you, mister, is watch out.
Season
He's watching you, friend, I guarantee you that.
Trick or treat, trick or treat.
Hey, Mr. Cochran, just what is the final process?
Fellas, I was just kidding.
Witchcraft. To us, it was a way of controlling our environment.
Hey!
Where are they taking her?
They're taking her to the factory.
I want a mask. Can I have a mask?
Just what I had in mind for you, little buddy. Why, Cocker? Why? Do I need a reason?
I've got nothing here to indicate there was ever a body at all.
Operator, this is an emergency.
I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. A joke on the children. I'm glad you'll be able to watch it.
You've got to believe me!
They're going to kill us. All of us.
Stop it!
The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. Happy Halloween.
Stop it!
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the night no one comes home.
Season of the witch.
Fourth place is the one you couldn't believe was in fourth place unless you were around that year during the movies. Apparently what we wanted were friendly aliens, so topping the charts were E.T. and Star Trek II Wrath of Khan. And topping the horror charts, well, not topping the horror charts actually, but appearing in number 4, John Carpenter's classic, The Thing. This is one of Scream Factory's limited edition slipcovers. They kind of invalidated the limited edition slipcover. Here's the back. Because shortly after this they went ahead and released a steelbook version of it. But hey, I'm still waiting for a 4K version of it. This is an absolute classic. You already know it's an absolute classic. It should have been number 1 on the list. It's number 4. John Carpenter's The Thing, one of the best horror movies ever made.
Mayday. Mayday. Anyone hear me? Over. This is U.S. Station 31. You read me? Found something in the ice. We need some help down here. Can anybody hear me? We found something. We found something. We found something.
12 men have just discovered something. For 100,000 years, it was buried in the snow and ice. Now it has found a place to live. Inside. Where no one can see it, or hear it, or feel it.
I know I'm human. Some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won.
You guys gonna listen to Gary? He can be one of those things!
Well, What film is so good that it beats John Carpenter's The Thing? Actually, I'm not terribly upset by this. The number 3 position goes to Stephen King's Creepshow, directed by George Romero. And Stephen King has his usual cameo in this, and yes, he overacts like he always does in his cameos, but in this film, it actually fits the story. It actually works out really well, and the other vignettes are great, and even the vignette with the roaches is really tense and really great, but I've watched it a couple of times. I've watched Creepshow dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I've watched the roach vignette maybe 3 times because it is so ick. But Creepshow, and it's very expensive from Scream Factory, but their collector's version actually makes a big difference. You can get Creepshow on Blu-ray without buying the expensive Scream Factory edition, which comes in a nice slipcase and has a nice booklet and has a lot of special features on it. But the important thing is that the picture quality for Creepshow is just amazing on Scream Factory's edition. Creepshow. It'll scare you silly.
Coming soon. Jolting tales of horror. Creepshow. From the author of Carrie, The Shining, and Cujo. And the creator of Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. You'll scream at ghastly ghouls. Cringe at weird kids. And shiver at the doings of evil doctors.
This is going to be extremely painful, Mr. Verrill.
Creepshow will grab you, grow on you, and give you the creeps.
No, this is going to be an entirely new experience.
Creepshow, the most fun you'll ever have being scared.
Well, Friday the 13th, Part 3, in 3D. So, you have your classic The Thing, you have classic Creepshow. But the film that audiences wanted to see was Jason throwing things at the screen. That was more entertaining, apparently. Friday the 13th, Part 3. At least he gets his hockey mask in this one, so it's important Jason history-wise.
Weekends are a good time to escape to the woods. Unless the weekend begins with Friday the 13th. Because 13 is an unlucky number. But out here, so are 1 through 12. Because these are Jason's woods. And nobody leaves them alive. Friday the 13th, Part 3, in 3D. Jason, you can't fight him. You can't stop him. And now, you can't even keep him on the screen. Friday the 13th, Part 3, in 3D. Now, when it comes to killing in Jason's woods, Jason will come to you. Friday the 13th, Part 3, in 3D. A new dimension in terror. It will scare you. Count on it.
So, what film could possibly be better than Creepshow and The Thing, two of my all-time favorite horror movies?
We are number one. All others are number 2 or low.
Poltergeist, from Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper. A little disappointing. Not that there's anything wrong with Poltergeist. Poltergeist is a good horror movie. I don't consider it a classic. It is certainly nowhere near as good as Creepshow or The Thing. But hey, if you want a horror movie about suburbia where everything ends very happily, Poltergeist. There, of course, are several sequels and a reboot. Poltergeist.
The house looks just like the one next to it. And the one next to that. And the one next to that. A young couple live in it.
You are so obnoxious.
With their 3 children.
Honey, chew each bite 10 times.
And something more.
They're here.
Sweetie, remember last night? Do you remember when you woke up and you said you were here?
Uh-huh.
Well, who did you mean? Who's here?
TV people.
Something's funny going on here next door. Something,
We were wondering if maybe you had experienced any disturbances lately.
What kind of disturbances?
I don't know what hovers over this house. I've never sensed anything like it.
That thing is in there with my baby.
They're hundreds. Now Steven Spielberg crosses a frightening new threshold into a world within our own. Its form is revealed.
What is it?
Its focus is clear. And the games are over. Poltergeist. It knows what scares you.
Click like, subscribe, or even comment below because I want to hear what you think.